Taylor here with Agri Spray Drones. Today we are spreading cover crop. Well, actually forage crop. We're spreading turnips and we're spreading what else?
Radishes.
Radishes, there we go, turnips and radishes. So this is a field right here, cornfield that has just been chopped for silage. Well, most of it anyways. So some of it's bare ground, some of it's actually got standing corn in it. We'll be spreading turnips and radishes that will, for hopefully the cows to graze on. So this is a bit more of a detailed job as far as spreading goes because we have two different crops, very small seeds. We make sure we put them out accurately at very low rates. So what we're gonna try to do with you guys is show you the entire process in the field, start to finish, as far as how to calibrate your swath and how to calibrate for each seed, and then actually show you guys what it looks like spreading too. Let's get to it. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna dump in a little bit of our turnips here. Now this is the T50 with the T50 tank, and as you can see, we've got a lot of room in here, a really big opening. You can actually fit a seed tender spout in here if you wanted to. We just have buckets and bags today because we're doing very low volumes. We just have a little bit in there. That's enough to get our swath width calibration. And over here, I'll show you guys what we've laid out. This is about 60 feet of black cloth. This is weed barrier cloth. We just laid it out in the cornfield here. There's different ways to calibrate your swath for any type of granular material. This is really quick, easy, simple, and cheap and reusable way. You just lay this out. Most of your seeds are going to show up pretty well against a black background. And so we're just going to fly over this black cloth, and then we'll take our tape out. We'll kind of get a visual representation of where do those seeds land, what's our concentration, and then we'll base our swath width off of that. Not super scientific, but it's quick, it's easy, and it's repeatable and cheap. So we'll take the drone off and let's do that. Okay, so seeds in and our cloth is out. We're just going to go and do a manual pass, 13% gate opening. We haven't actually calibrated this seed yet. We're waiting on some buckets to stand the drone up on to do that. And so we're just going to fly this over manually, and we're just going to pick a spinner disc speed. When it comes to spinner disc speed, that's how fast that spinner on the bottom of the tank is spinning. You've got from down to 200 RPM all the way up to 1300 RPM. What do you choose? Well, faster you spin it, the wider you should throw it. But of course you might damage seed and whatnot too. So typically what we'll do is of small seeds, low use rates, we'll run max about 1000 RPM. And 13% gate opening, that should give us just enough to where we can spread it out without spreading too much seed and be able to hopefully see it on our cloth. So we're gonna take off and fly manually. We're gonna fly the drone back towards us. Try to get it in the center of that cloth. Put our camera up so we can see our cloth here. There it is. And when we're spreading this field here, we're probably gonna be about 20-foot altitude, so I'll try to sit at about 20 feet, somewhere around there. And we'll give it a little bit of runway. I'll kick on my spreader with my red button on the top left of the remote. All right, we're spreading, and now I'm flying forward. This is just manual flight here. I'm gonna fly it straight over, come to a stop, and turn off my spinner. Let's see if we can see anything on that cloth. Okay, so we're checking our cloth right now, and these turnips here, we're only putting these out at 2.2 pounds per acre. So it's very few seeds spread out, basically per square foot. And so as you can see here on our cloth, we've got seed here, seed there, seed there, seed there, right here. And it's fairly evenly dispersed, but there's just not very many seeds. And that's why this cloth is really nice. If we spread that on the ground and try to look at that, we won't be able to see any seeds. So we're just gonna look down here and see how far we've got. I still see some here. Looks like somewhere in here we start to kind of taper off. I'm just going to say right about here. We'll mark that as one edge, and we'll look at this other edge down here. Still see seed here. There's a little bit there. Actually, still some right here. I don't see any past that hump though. So it looks like probably right about, be on the safe side and go narrower, right about there. All right, now we'll get our measuring tape and we'll measure from mark to mark. All right, we got a 100-foot tape here. We're gonna stick one side in on the mark on this side. Now, cameraman said 29 feet, so we're gonna see how close he is. Not bad. We've got about 32 and a half. So we're probably going to set it at, I'm just going to do probably 30. That way we make sure that we get enough overlap. We had pretty decent dispersion across that entire 32 feet, but we'll go a little bit narrower just to make sure we've got plenty of overlap. So that was 30 feet with spinner disc speed at 1,000 RPM and a height about 20 feet in the air. So those are going to be the parameters that we're going to use for these turnips at a 2.2 pound per acre rate. We'll set those and we're going to calibrate our product, start flying. All right, so we have to calibrate turnips as a profile in the system so that it knows how wide to open that gate whenever we want it to do 2.2 pounds per acre. To do that, we actually have to dump product out the bottom of the drone to calibrate that scale for this product. So I've enlisted some help here because it's a lot easier with 2 people. We have our 4 buckets here. We're gonna set this drone up on top of 4 buckets. Good there?
Yep.
All right. So now we can actually slide another bucket underneath the drone. But before we do that, we need to take off the spinner disc. Down here, there's a cotter pin that should pull out. Then we have a wing nut. That's actually a reverse thread. And our disc comes off. We'll just set that to the side. Make sure you don't lose your cotter pin or your wing nut. So now when we open it up, it should just dump straight out the bottom. Go ahead and fill our tank up with our turnips. And put our extra bucket underneath. We want to make sure that the bucket does not hit the bottom of the spreader because it's sitting on scales. So we'll clear out a spot here for the bucket to sit. There we go. Okay, so the bucket's clear of the tank, sitting freely on the scales on the drone. Everything looks good. And we'll grab our remote. And quick way to access your products is to go into manual mode, hit manual plus. There it says material. Just hit material not selected, go to materials management, then it brings you right in here. You can also go in from your settings into spreader and materials management. We're gonna add a new material. And now we have this small hopper gate. If you see the picture on here, one gate has a large opening. It's what I call it the full pizza slice opening. Whereas a small outlet gate, that's just the crust, just the outer edge. Now we're doing low rate with small seeds. We need the small outlet. That's what's installed right now. We've got product in there, so we're gonna go ahead and tap OK. It's probably gonna want me to add more product in here. Yep, it sure does. So we're gonna grab the rest of our turnip bag and dump it in. It wants more yet. If you don't have more, you can just put a weight on top of here and that will trick the system. But we're gonna grab another sack and throw it in. All right, we're actually not gonna put that in here. I wanna show you guys how you can trick the system by not actually dumping it in, but just putting the weight on top. There you see that our pounds have jumped up to 48 pounds. So we hit resume, then it should start now. There we go. So basically what it's doing right now is it's opening the gate a little bit, about 10% opening, dumping for a few seconds, then it's going to jump up to 20% opening, dump for a few more seconds, 30%, so on and so forth. And basically it's calculating how many pounds per second are dumping out at each different percent of gate opening. And after it's done, it's going to build out a chart or a graph that you can actually see that in, in visualization, your pounds per second dumping as your hopper outlet size or your gate opening percentage increases. There we go. That's done. So there you see on our screen, this is our chart here. Now we just have to give this product a name. These are turnips. All right, that's done. Now we just have to put everything back together and start spreading. Okay, we're calibrated. I'm gonna go ahead and select my field. And I already set this up. If you guys want to see how to set up your fields, how to map a boundary, how to set up obstacles, all that kind of stuff, you can watch our other videos. We have much more detailed videos and training videos on this. We did this ahead of time, so we wouldn't have to include this in the video. We're going to hit use, and then we're going to select our material. There we have it in the system. And our application rate is 2.2. There we go. Spinner disc speed of 1,000, that's what we tested. Flight speed, we're going to go full speed, 32.8. Height was at 20 is what we tested. And our route spacing, 30.45. You know what? That's perfect. We'll leave that right there where it's at. And all that looks good. Make sure that our start point, yep, right there over there in that corner. I think we're good to go. So I did not fill this tank all the way up. We're only doing 2.2 pounds per acre. We have 24 pounds in there, that's enough for 10 acres. I don't like to fill the tank all the way up, especially on a small rate, just so I can make sure that A, it's doing an appropriate job, putting out as much as it should be putting out, and then B, so that it can actually spread out the entire tank load with one battery. We'll load it up to the aircraft. And all that looks good. Change our terrain following mode to flatland. All right. So at the start point right now, it's going to start spinning. It's using the onboard scales on the drone to try to keep that rate accurate. It's going to open and close that gate dynamically. So as it speeds up and slows down, if it speeds up, it's going to open the gate more. If it slows down, it's going to open the gate less. That way it tries to get that 2.2 pounds per acre across the entire field. We can watch our live tank volumes. We have a scale on board on the drone right now, up in the upper right-hand corner of the remote. We can see the live view of our scale. It's going to bounce around a little bit. Obviously, this is a drone flying around with a scale on board, and so it's going to fluctuate. But so long as that scale drops over the course of a few passes with a very, very low rate like we're doing, then that means we should be putting out enough seed. And this does track right along with what I was thinking earlier. So we spread across our black strip to get our swath test, and I set our hopper outlet to 13%. I thought that was probably a bit too much because it's actually maxing out at about 10 or 11%. Down here on the bottom of the screen, you can see our hopper outlet size closed right now. As it turns, it's going to open back up. Just like that. Building up speed, opening at that hopper outlet more and more, maxing out about 9 or 10%. There you go. There we go. Okay, we're done. Because of our battery, we started with about 80% battery, and we had it come back to us at 30%. And so it tells us how many pounds per acre, or how many pounds it actually did. This is a perfect example. So we covered 3.45 acres and we did 5 pounds. And let's see here, it tells us, yeah, the total acres of the field, how many acres we covered, how many pounds we did. So we can actually do some math here and make sure we're getting the appropriate rate. 5 pounds divided by 3.45, it's about 1.4. So our rate's off a little bit. We're gonna increase our target rate so we get our actual rate closer to 2.4. Grab a fresh battery, swap it, and we don't have to put any more payload in the tank because we still have about 20 acres worth, or 10 acres worth. Battery management with cover crop can vary widely. If you're doing very low seeding rates like we're doing now, then you're gonna get a lot of acres on one battery charge, but you're probably gonna swap that battery every single time that drone lands. Versus if we're doing 50 or 60 or 100 pounds per acre, then we can probably get multiple tank loads per battery charge because we're gonna drop that tank so fast. Okay, we're gonna resume here and we're gonna swipe right. It's gonna take off and go back to work. And after it takes off, I'm gonna come over here on the left-hand side and I'm going to increase our target rate to 3. And it's gonna open that gate a bit wider. That way it actually tries to, it should hopefully put out closer to our 2.4 pounds that we're actually shooting for. Which is again, why we don't fill the tank all the way up whenever we first start. That way we can adjust on our second tank load based on what our first tank load did. Okay, just making sure it's getting out there just fine. We can take a look at the map here. It's gonna go back out to the very far end and start from the far end. All that looks good. All right, we have actually, looks like run out or very close to it. We got a lot more done. Longer passes, you can get a lot more done. So we got pretty close to our 10 acres done there. And auto landing, bring it down. I closed it up too quick, but you can see down here on the bottom, we've done 10.5 acres. Last time we did 3.45. And so if we do our math here, we had 3.45 last time. We're gonna subtract 10.5 out of that. So we did about 7 acres on this tank load here. And we had about, we took off about 20 pounds in there. So that's 20 pounds divided by 7 acres. That gives us 2.8 pounds per acre. Very close, we're getting closer. So our next one, we're actually going to be, let's decrease this to 2.6. I'll do 2.7. And that might get us really close to that 2.4 pounds per acre that we're actually targeting. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start up our generator, grab a fresh battery, and pour in some more seed. All right, so we just got done spreading our turnips, and we came out at almost exactly 2.2 pounds per acre, what we were shooting for. At first we were about 3, and then we were or about 1.8, and then about 2.8. But once I adjusted our target rate to 2.7 pounds per acre, then our actual rate was 2.2, which was perfect. So just because it's a spinner disc and gravity flow doesn't mean it can't be accurate. It can be extremely accurate at low rates. Okay, so we've got a little bit of turnips left in the tank here, as you can see. So we're gonna go ahead and lift this thing back up onto our buckets. And there's a couple of ways you can drain your tank out. You do have on the bottom here, you've got this port. So we can put, kind of a bucket underneath there, a bag, and open that port and drain it out that way. But since we already have to have it up here on top so that we can calibrate for radishes, which we're spreading next, then we're just gonna set it up on here, take our spinner off, and then dump it out into our bucket. Okay, so we have our drone set back up on buckets, our bucket underneath. and our gate or our spinner disc taken off, we have to dump out our turnips first. So to do that, we're gonna go up at the top left and go to manual mode, and then go over to the left-hand side and make sure we hit regular M, not M plus. Increase our hopper outlet size to 100% so it opens all the way up. And spinner disc doesn't matter because it's off, obviously. And if you can watch inside, you can see it dump from the top. Whenever I push my red button on the left here, then it's gonna open up that gate 100%. It's just gonna free flow out the bottom. So this is just a gravity flow system here. And pretty soon you'll see this detection, your seed detector, start to spin real slow. Once that starts free spinning, then the system knows that there's no seed left in it. There we go. So now it can free spin, and it knows that your tank is empty or pretty well empty. You can stop it with your finger though. So if I just put my finger down there, it stops. You feel it about once every half second, it tries to spin a little bit. So we're just gonna open or put the rest of our seed down the bottom there. And even though it says it's empty, we can go ahead and hit open again, and it'll still open up and it'll drain the rest of that out. And give it a few shakes, make sure we got the rest of it. Now we're good. It's also good to do this, just open and close it prior to dumping your seed in here. You can see our gate down at the bottom, and we know that our mechanism is working here. If that's not spinning whenever it's empty, then you need to make sure that something's not broken or it's not jammed or something like that. That needs to be able to spin. The other thing that you need to watch for is when you open your hopper outlet size to 100%, does it actually open to 100%? So right now you can see that the full width of that pizza crust that we talked about is actually open up all the way there on the outside rim. That is factually and actually 100%. It doesn't open up to 100%, that might mean you installed it incorrectly. All right, we're good here. We're gonna go ahead and dump in our radishes and do a calibration on those. This works the same as turnips do. We're just gonna go into settings, spreader, materials management. We're gonna add a new material. Again, it's a small outlet, and there we go. It's dumping out. We did empty that bucket out prior to starting this, so it's an empty bucket. You can see we have a gap here between our spreader and our bucket so that we don't have any weight on that or pressure against the bottom side of this. So it's getting an accurate reading on the scale. It's a really clever way that DJI did the calibration from an accuracy perspective, and so you can store a lot of different materials in here. So we have our turnips saved from last time. Now we're doing our radishes, and it's going to save that in the system. We can upload that to the cloud. So we have that calibration data from those two seeds saved here and on the cloud. We can share that between devices as well. When we come back next year, or come back, if somebody else has some turnips they want us to spread, we don't have to do this. We can just load it in, hit turnips, and go to the field. Once you have a calibration done the first time, you don't have to do it again unless for some reason you did it wrong, or you want to switch your gates. Here we go, calibration is done. And save it, there we go. That's it, I'll pull it, bucket out. That's all that dumps out right there, not much. Whenever you have that small hopper, when you use a large gate on your spreader, it's going to dump out quite a bit more than this. Okay, let's go back to work. All right, we need to do a swath calibration on our radishes. We did it on our turnips, now we need to do it on our radishes. So we're going to use our same tarp here, our same black cloth, and we're actually going to be able to use the manual plus. We do a screen recording so you can see. There we go. We're going to use manual plus this time because we have an actual material, radishes, because we have already calibrated that. So we're going to use radishes as material. We're going to actually make another template for our parameters as well. So we're going to hit new template, We're gonna come in here and we're gonna do 4.4. That's our target. Spinner disc. This is a bit bigger seed. Let's crank this up a little bit and see what it does. 1300 RPM on the disc, flight speed. We're gonna go all the way up on the flight speed. Again, we'll do about 20 feet. You can do a little higher if you want to. Anywhere between 15 and 50 feet is kind of where we tend to operate. But we got a little bit of wind here, so we want to give too much room for the wind to blow that seed. 20 foot's where we're gonna go. And we'll set our theoretical route spacing to 32 feet. And we're gonna save this as a radish template. So now we have radish template for the parameters, radish template for the material, and we're going to use that to do a manual application over our tarp here, our cloth here. We'll back up a little bit to make sure we get enough speed. Speed and height play a factor when it comes to how far you can throw material. It should be enough. Again, check our template here. All that looks good. Hit start. It's going to go to that 20-foot high, and once we push forward on this right stick, there it's starting to spread. We'll see if we can find any seed on our cloth. Yeah, kind of like I expected, because we have a larger seed. You know, last time we didn't see any until right over there. This time we've got it all the way out here. We've got a few seeds even out there to the very end of the cloth. And right here is where we start to get a lot more seeds. We can see we got several right there. Again, it's a very low rate, 4.4 pounds per acre. Still a very low rate, so there's not a lot on here. You can still pick out these little red seeds as you walk down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark my first spot right over here where we've got our beginning. We've got a few out there, so I'll mark it right here. I just broke my boot. Check that out. I guess it's time for new ones. They weren't very comfortable anyways. All right, that's where it starts. We'll make sure that we know that's not our mark. We've got seed here. Still see seed. Pretty good pattern on this. Bigger seed spreads a lot better. There's our hump there. We kind of start trailing off. I do see one there. Actually, I see some down there, but our hump here, we should have got rid of this little hump right there. That's kind of throwing us off. But I see some there and I see some down there. So I'm gonna guess if it hit right here like that guy did, it may have rolled down. So I'm betting somewhere right along here is where our edge is on this side. All right, we'll get the tape out and we'll measure this. All right, 44.6 is what we got right here. We're gonna make sure we have overlaps. We're gonna shrink that down to probably 40. We'll go an even 40 on this. Just make sure we have enough overlap. So that was 40 with 1300 RPM and 20 feet high. We'll go ahead and end this. And we actually make a new template. And put 40. Save it as radish 40. All right. We'll swap our battery on our drone and we'll go to flying. All right, guys, we are done with our cover crop job here. It went super smooth and we did everything. You know, normally we show up and we've already got everything calibrated. We already know what our swath width is. All we got to do is dump the seed in and go. but we want to show you guys how you can do this, everything in the field, calibration on swath, calibration on product, saving all that in the system so you can repeat it later, and application of very, very small amounts of seed, 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, 4 pounds per acre. As I look down here, I can already see we've got radish seeds scattered out. That's at a 4.5 pound per acre rate. And as I walk around, they're hard to see, but when you find them, you notice that they're evenly dispersed at a 4.5 pound rate. This is a perfect tool for the job for cover crop overseeding, which is exactly what we're doing today. We're going to come back with you guys on some results because this is actually a split trial here where we have some seeded on bare soil and some on standing corn that'll be harvested later. So hopefully we have some good results to bring you. If you are interested in seeing a demo for yourself of an Agras T50, 40, 25, 20P, or any other spray drone, please reach out to us, let us know. We have a nationwide dealer network and we can get you guys set up for next season. See ya.